How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Cut. This is from 2010 and can be found on this Ultimate Horror 5-movie collection. I picked this up. It says they're all contemporary slashers, and it's 5 movies that I didn't have before, so I thought I'd go ahead and take a look at some of the ones in here. This is a British film, but it's also a one-take film, which is what most people talk about for this movie. You know, it's ironic because it's called Cut, but they don't cut. You get the gag there. Anyway, this is written and directed by Alexander Williams and stars Zack Galligan, Lauri Brewster, Dominic Burns, Simon Phillips, and River George. And I guess I should say right off the bat is I would really love to see a good one-take slasher. Slasher movies, it really is sort of running around avoiding the killer, and oneers keep you boots in the ground. They keep you in the action, and I think a good one-take slasher would feel pretty darn cool. But that being said, I feel that oneers always promise so much, and it usually comes out underwhelming. And I've gotten jaded by oneers at this point. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you sacrifice in order to do a oneer, and we'll talk about those in a minute because this movie really does exemplify all the things that you lose in order to adapt this style. But I will say that if you are curious about oneers, this is a good example, in particular slasher, but also because apparently they did it for real this time. And that is one thing that bugs me with oneers, is they usually are fake, and that really feeds into my jadedness on this genre, is that most of them are fake and have a bunch of hidden cuts. I mean, ever since Rope, but to be fair with Alfred Hitchcock, that was more a technical limitation of the time, but so many of these are fake, and supposedly this is one of the few real ones. They said I read the IMDb, and it's like they had to do over 30 takes and only got 2 usable ones, so at least props to them for doing it authentically, if they really did. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, but I do want to analyze the movie a little bit. That being said, this section will go quick because there isn't much of a plot, and we'll go through this pretty quick. We do open up with a prologue section, a sort of fake movie that the characters are watching, and overall, it's better than the real movie. When the camera pulls out, it does kind of suck because it's like, hey, that was pretty decent. What are we actually doing? And it's one of those babysitter, girl won't go to sleep because she's scared of her life-size clown doll. Yeah, this is one of the internet's favorite urban legends at this point. Either it's a clown doll or an angel statue, and it's a fun little gimmicky story. Good to see them adapted here. But like I said, we pull out of the TV, and the camera wanders around this entire house as the credits are going. Feel sorry for the cameraman here, because he just has to, because this is a oneer, wander around the house aimlessly as the credits roll. So hey, let's start off the movie with you walking around this house for a whole long time, and we'll just tell you if we've had enough time for the credits. It's a weird, aimless thing and makes you wonder what we're doing. But it turns out there's 5 friends. They've gathered at one of their uncle's country houses way out in the middle of nowhere, as you do for slasher movies. And it turns out one of them is a writer. He's looking for a source of inspiration on this trip. Another one of them is pregnant, and she has yet to tell the father about it, so there's a little drama there. But anyway, they eventually are interrupted by a group of killers, men wearing black and white makeup. They call it clown makeup at one point, but it's not. It's just black and white scary patterns, I guess. It would have been cooler if they did clown makeup, but whatever. So anyway, they chase them, and from there the movie gets kind of aimless, you know? It's just run around here, scream at each other, and try to get away. And the movie, yeah, I mean, it kind of loses its focus. They'll quip at each other, and the quipping here isn't that great. I mean, the audio's bad, so I can barely hear any of it, and the ones that I did make out, not super funny. More on the audio in a second, though. But anyway, let's talk about cons, and I'll start off with the cons that have nothing to do with it being a oner, and then I'll move into oner analysis in a second. But opening up, the plot, as I hinted at earlier, very, very minimal, and I wish more happened in this movie, but it really doesn't. And overall, I could be forgiving for a minimal plot movie. I mean, Halloween is a minimal plot, but there's a difference between a well-structured minimal plot and a minimal plot that just has nothing going on. The characters scream, wonder what around this house, and you really do feel trapped in this little house, and it feels like nothing really is happening. You need a good sense of structure, and it just feels kind of aimless, wandering around, no great kills, no great suspense sequences, just, yeah, killers. Another thing is the characters all suck. And a good example, one of the opening sequences in this movie, literally almost right after the credits, a girl is passed out, and two of the guys talk about taking advantage of her, sexually assaulting her. That's terrible. And I do want to say, there are 5 characters in this cabin, and you've already made me hate 2 of them. Like, why are we beginning our movie like this with something so horrible? And the thing is, too, one of these guys is actually our male lead. That sucks. I mean, the guy that vaguely goes, hey, we probably shouldn't do this, and then ultimately just stands by and watches his friend do it anyway. Like, that is what counts for morals in this movie? It really does suck. I didn't like that. Luckily, the characters are obviously interrupted and nothing super terrible happens, but it's a good way to get me to hate darn near half the characters in this movie. And out of the rest of the characters, I mean, the one who's pregnant, I guess that's a little bit of drama there. It doesn't amount to much. And the writer, I guess he's supposed to be funny, but as I said earlier, everyone in this movie thinks they're super quippy and funny, and it doesn't land, so there's no real good character to want to anchor you to and follow around, and in turn, I don't care about anyone in this movie. But also, the biggest thing, bad audio. And to be fair, a 5-pack, 3 movies on this one disc didn't do you a favor. And also, me as an American trying to understand your thick accents, that didn't help either. But also, it just sounded echoey. Like, I'm kind of concerned that they just used the camera's built-in native mic. Really, when you do a movie, audio mixing is so important. If you have one person over here talking, and then you have someone over here screaming their head off, that person needs less volume, this person needs more, and audio is so important, which is why a lot of audio in movies is also not native to the scene. It has to be really quiet and controlled, and you pull in audio from several sources and layer it right. And here, I think it was just primarily one audio track with a special effect or a song every now and then, but your main audio just sounded so echoey and hard to understand. And to be fair, maybe it's the 5-pack, but I did flip through another one of the movies and the audio sounded okay there. So, I don't know. It just, yeah, I need to hear what your characters are saying if you want me to get into the drama, you know? So bad audio is a huge flaw. But now that we got that all out of the way, let's talk about it being a oner. And with the oner, you have some pros and a whole lot of cons. Let's talk about the pros of doing a oner, and these are divided into why you should do it, why they probably did it, and why you shouldn't do it. And why you should do it is being a oner keeps you boots on the ground without a cut. You don't disassociate with the movie. You don't snap out of it. You feel like you're really there running around with these characters. That would be really cool to see in a slasher done right. I would love to see a oner slasher because of this. 2, why they probably did do it is if you do it legitimate, it can save you a lot of time. The edit is a lot simpler if it's just one big file and you don't have to chop things up to heck. Also, the setup. You don't have to set up for each individual shot, and assuming your actors can pull off a oner, you can save a ton of time doing the setups here as well. So there are financial reasons, which is probably why they did it. The third pro for a oner, which I really don't like though, why you shouldn't do it, is so many people will just ooh and ah over a oner. It's a gimmick, and there's a reason why gimmicks work, and when it's impressive, but I see so many people, they do oners just because they want to be impressive, and so many people like, ooh, a oner. And yeah, that's whatever with that. But anyway, doing oners have a bunch of cons. A bunch of reasons why people don't do oners more, and a bunch of reasons why they can detract from your film, and this movie exemplifies a whole lot of them. First of all, your shots. When you are doing multiple shots, you can direct the audience better. You can show the audience what you're supposed to be looking at, do nice little pointers. You know, for example, an insert shot of a gun on the ground is a great way to quickly tell an audience, hey, this is important, it's going to come up in a minute. But when you do oners, you have to be able to pan and keep everything in the right frame, and in turn, your shots aren't always going to be the best laid out, and maybe because you just missed a mark, maybe you don't get something in frame as well as you should be, but you also have to factor in how long it is going to take to physically get the camera from one location to the next, and in turn, a lot of the cool shot choice you really can't pull off too easily in a oner. There's also things like, what do you do for the time that you would normally cut out? And a good example of that is all the times they have to go up the stairs, and they go up the stairs and you're just watching some guy's butt and legs because the cameraman's behind him following up the stairs, and really, what else are you going to shoot? It's just, yeah, there are some parts that really should be cut. There's a scene to the end of this movie where someone walks really far away from camera and then walks back, and the camera is just sitting there static for way too long. The terrible scene in the beginning with the attempted sexual assault, this one guy is trying vaguely to talk his friend out of it, and they're trying to do a Pulp Fiction-esque funny story, but it's not funny, it's gross, and the camera is just one guy here and the other guy here, and it stays in that one position for way too long. So yeah, being able to have shots, being able to cut quickly between things, frame stuff in different positions, it can really get the point across a whole lot better. And overall, other than the boots in the ground feel, choosing multiple shots really is usually better storytelling. Also, with the setups, the lighting. When you do a movie, you create the illusion of consistent lighting, but really every time the camera cuts somewhere else, you usually fake the lighting. It usually changes because you want to make sure everything is lit properly, clear, easy to see, and looks it looks good. You want to make sure the shot looks pretty, good cinematography. However, you can't hide lights in a Oner when the camera's running around the room and you can't set up for each shot. I mean, maybe they could have put a light on top of the camera itself, although that would really look kind of flashlighty. So in turn, this movie's very underlit, and it does feel muddy at times, and it just doesn't look good because you can't set up your lights for multiple shots just because of the nature of it being a Oner. But also with the Oner, performances and acting, when you do short shots, when you're shooting something that's like a minute long tops, if you flub, you flub and you try again. And in turn, actors will look a whole lot better when you do like 20 takes and choose the best one. You know, when you do Oners and most of them you mess up on and can't use that take and you're left with only 2 options, you're gonna get where the actor's out of breath, or he mumbled his line, or it's just not the best reading of it. And to be fair, I don't think these actors were probably the best actors to begin with, but doing a Oner doesn't make them look great, which is actually kind of sad because they probably had to do a ton of work memorizing this whole movie and doing it at one time, but it doesn't make them look great. And when you have things like constant quips, jokes need to land. And when you have story beats need to be clear. So between the bad audio and not having a bunch of takes to choose from, a lot of the quips and the plot points can get lost in this movie, and that really does suck. So yeah, it would be great to have multiple takes, and obviously can't do that. Another big thing is things happening in the moment. Maybe some things can look a little too real. It may be weird to say, but a good example of that is the killers. In a regular scary movie, you can set them up with good lighting, good shots, and you don't know when they're gonna pop out. And these killers aren't great to begin with, but sometimes because it is a Oner, you see the killer just standing there for way too long. Yeah, it's cool to be in the moment, but when you're in the moment so long, the killer's just kind of standing there, and you're like, oh, hey, there's the killer. He doesn't seem as menacing. And in addition to the killers not being scary, you can't do too many good gory kills, which is something a slasher thrives on. You can't really do that in a Oner because you want to do that Tom Savini setup, you're gonna need to set it up. And in turn, the kills aren't super impressive, but also they're not even really clear. Sometimes a character dies and it's this weird awkward jump out and kill him, and it just doesn't even sell it. You're like, wait, oh, he died. Did he just die? And so yeah, it's not clear, but also we're missing good gore effects because how the heck are you supposed to slide a gore effect into a Oner? So one of the big reasons we come to slashers isn't in this movie. So that really does suck. And overall, when you look at this movie, a really simple slasher with not much going on and characters that aren't super likable, this movie didn't stand much of a chance anyway. But when you do a Oner, it really just emphasized this movie's flaws. And overall, it is just a rambly, aimless movie that isn't super scary. And it's, I mean, at this point, I can appreciate them for the effort. Apparently, they did this for real. And it's a good movie to watch as a curiosity if you are interested in Oners and want to see how they've been done over time. But that being said, not great. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom this should be my slasher movies playlist. I've talked about a whole bunch of them. I've talked about Halloween movies and Friday the 13th movies, and also things like A Bay of Blood and Alice Sweet Alice. I've talked about a lot of slasher movies, so if you want to see me talk about more, you can find those right here. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Slasher movies playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.